Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Good news, another good news Monday morning. As the Prime Minister has said, we are living through a time of profound change and uncertainty. Across the country, Canadians have been stepping up to serve. They're moving to answer the call to build a country that's strong, free, and is sovereign. Today, I can announce that with my colleagues, the Canadian Armed Forces have reached the highest recruitment intake in over 30 years. Last year, Canada surpassed the regular force recruiting objective for the second consecutive year. What does that mean? It means the Canadian Armed Forces saw over 44,000 verified applications to join the regular force. That is a 62% increase in verified applications from the previous year. Of the 44,000 who've applied, we enrolled more than 7,310 new members. 7,310 new members. Our target was 6,957. That achieved 105% of our established target. These are significant numbers. And while that progress continues, we know it is made possible by people who choose to serve, and by those who worked every day to make that service possible. It is, after all, about the people at the heart of our mission, to defend Canada and uphold our values. My colleagues and I know it's about Canadians stepping forward, choosing to serve something greater than themselves. It's about the tens of thousands of dedicated women and men already in uniform, serving with courage, professionalism, and with pride. And in every role they take on, it is about ensuring they have the support they need to succeed, both in their careers and in their lives. Ces résultats nous montrent que les Canadiens et les résidents permanents continuent d'adhérer au service. Ils témoignent du succès de nos efforts pour moderniser le recrutement et surtout, ils nous montrent que de plus en plus de gens choisissent de faire partie de quelque chose de plus grand qu'eux-mêmes. Nous remarquons aussi des tendances encourageantes chez ceux et celles qui s'enrôlent. Lors du dernier exercice fiscal, plus de 1200 femmes se sont enrôlées dans la force régulière des FAC, ce qui représente désormais le nombre le plus élevé des 10 dernières années. Et c'est important car des forces armées plus robustes et inclusives forment des forces armées plus efficaces. Même si ces progrès nous encouragent, nous poursuivons nos efforts. Nous savons que le recrutement n'est qu'une partie de l'équation. Notre responsabilité n'est pas seulement d'attirer les gens, mais aussi de les soutenir, de les former et de les maintenir en poste. C'est pourquoi nous continuons d'investir dans l'expérience de recrutement et d'intégration des nouveaux militaires. Nous modernisons la manière dont les gens postulent pour s'enrôler, rendant le processus plus rapide, plus transparent et plus conforme aux attentes des candidats d'aujourd'hui. Nous renforçons la capacité de formation pour que les nouvelles recrues puissent commencer leur carrière plus tôt. Et nous adoptons de nouveaux outils numériques qui rendront le parcours plus efficace et accessible de la demande à l'instruction de base. At the same time, more good news, we are seeing big progress across our occupations in the Canadian Armed Forces. 80% of our occupations have now reached 100% of their strategic intake targets, a significant increase from just 18 last fiscal year. What that means is last year, 18 of the 97 critical occupations were filled. This year, 70 of the 97 critical occupations are full. We still have a way to go. We have examples where we're still short, for example, in the area of weapons engineer technicians or marine technicians. And the rest, of course, we expect to reach full intake. By improving the recruiting process and the applicant experience, we're delivering results that are measurable, strong, and tangible. The strength of the Canadian Armed Forces depends on maintaining the high standards that Canadians expect and that our members deserve. That means delivering a generational pay increase of up to 20% for our service members It means investing in more military housing. In fact, just a week or two ago, my colleagues and I announced a plan to construct 7,500 additional housing units for members and their families. And it means continuing to support a healthier work-life balance so those who serve can raise a family and lead fulfilling lives. Because serving your country should never, ever come at the expense of your family. We are also firmly focused on building and sustaining a military culture rooted in professionalism, respect, and excellence. A culture free from harassment, free from discrimination, and harmful behavior. This is essential not only to attracting new talent, but to keeping it. Because people stay where they feel valued, where they are respected, and where they are supported. That is the kind of institution we are building and the standard we're committing to upholding. And we're determined to build on this momentum. For the year ahead, our objective is to enroll approximately 8,200 new members. It's an ambitious target, but it is one we believe is achievable. Because over the past year, we have made real progress in streamlining and modernizing how Canadians join the Canadian Armed Forces. And we will continue to do the work required to sustain that progress, to keep it moving forward. Nous sommes toutefois réalistes quant au travail qu'il reste à faire. Nous devons continuer à combler les pénuries dans des professions clés. Nous devons continuer d'améliorer la manière dont nous formons le personnel et l'intégrons dans nos rangs. Nous devons continuer d'écouter nos militaires comme nos candidats et retenir les leçons que nous apprenons en chemin. La robustesse des forces armées canadiennes repose sur la disponibilité du personnel dont nous avons besoin. Des militaires formés, soutenus et prêts à servir. The progress we are seeing today is the result of sustained effort by leaders, by recruiters, by trainers, and by the women and men who serve. They deserve enormous credit. It is they who are helping position the Canadian Armed Forces for the future. But let me close with this. The strength of the Canadian Armed Forces has always rested with its people. Our job is to support them thoughtfully, consistently, and with care to make sure they are ready for the responsibilities they carry on behalf of Canadians. And it is through their service that Canada remains strong, secure, and prepared for what lies ahead. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. I'm happy to take your questions.
24% of the people that applied that said they wanted to join the military and put forward applications are not being translated into people who have enrolled. Why is there still such a big gap? And as well, out of the 7,000 that have enrolled, how many completed basic training and are still serving?
The second question I can't answer. You can get that in the technical briefing that will follow. I'm very encouraged. We are all very encouraged with the number of applications. We have some ways to go in terms of post-recruitment and post-basic training to accelerate the pace with which individuals are being trained for their professions. And the good news is, with the pay package that we've introduced, the incentives to hire more instructors, to bring folks from the practice of what they're doing into the realm of instructors, those numbers are up. So we are seeing a decline, not enough, but we are seeing a decline now in the time it takes from the time you are actually integrated into the forces after basic training and your beginning of your training for your specific trade. That's one of the gaps that we're working to address. That's one of the next big challenges that we're working on.
Minister, on the motivation for these new recruits, do they comment on the fact that we're living, as the Prime Minister says, in a more dangerous and divided world?
What I've heard in my roughly first year on the job from our new recruits and those who are applying is this. Young people and not so young people who are joining us are concerned. They want to join and they want to support what they have described to me regularly as a project. And the project they describe is Canada. They are very committed to this country. They want to see Canada remain secure and sovereign. Of course, the pay package, the standards that we brought to bear, the streamlining of the application process, the improvements we've made on the medical requirements, all of these things are beginning to bear fruit. They're also seeing on the ground a concomitant investment in material, in new housing, in kit, in transportation systems, all the things that we are working on now, one after the other. By hitting singles every morning, no home runs, we're making progress. And I think this is now breaking through to our recruits. And I think that also accounts for the uptake in numbers.
Comme mon collègue disait quand même, c'est dans le discours politique de dire le monde est plus dangereux. Est-ce que ça, vous sentez que ça fait partie des raisons qui font que peut-être vos chiffres de recrutement sont meilleurs?
Les gens savent qu'il y a eu énormément de changements depuis 2 ans. Les gens savent que nos relations avec notre partenaire au Sud ont changé, mais nous avons toujours un partenariat à gérer. Les gens savent que ce qui se passe en Ukraine est sérieux, ce qui se passe dans le Moyen-Orient est sérieux. Et les gens voient de plus en plus que les Forces armées canadiennes c'est un choix positif à faire, une carrière, une belle carrière devant eux. Et c'est exactement ce qu'on vise. On vise créer des Forces armées canadiennes un employeur de choix, une carrière de choix. Et les gens savent aussi qu'il y a énormément de choix quand ils rentrent dans les Forces armées canadiennes. Et donc, je pense que ça touche la question des chiffres. C'est la plus forte augmentation de recrutement depuis 30 ans ou plus au Canada. C'est vraiment exceptionnel. On est très content de voir le travail, mais évidemment, il y a du travail à faire. On a vu une augmentation de 62% de demandes vérifiées. C'est énorme. On a vu que 70 des 97 occupations critiques ont été comblées. Il y a du travail à faire. L'année passée, c'était 18. Donc, on voit depuis 1 an que le travail des gens dans les Forces armées canadiennes, nos incitatifs, les salaires, le respect accordé aux Forces armées canadiennes, augmentation de morale dans le système, nous pensons que ça a un impact positif.
Minister, has this resulted in the increased enrollment? Has it resulted in an overall increase in the size of the Canadian military?
Yes, it has. It has, and we are revising those numbers now, looking at those numbers. We have a cap now that we've set a standard of 71,500 for the regular forces. At this pace, on present trajectory, I think we're going to see a continuing increase in interest in the Canadian Armed Forces. So the question of what the numbers should be is a question that we're examining now.
My question is, has the increased intake resulted in a higher size of the Canadian Armed Forces, not the projected ones, and how closer are you to reaching the target of 2029? Because that's when officials had said previously that they were going to, that's when the 2017 target would be hit. So where are you now? What is the
total authorized target for the Canadian Armed Forces regular force, as you know, is 71,500. This year, we've had 7,310 new members. Authorized 71,500. The actual is 67,827. We are about 3,600 regular members short of achieving that target. On present trajectory, if this keeps up this year, we will achieve this target earlier than 2029.
I'll just ask you just a quick question about the submarine contract. We're reading that the DIA has extended the bidders in hopes that the bidders will improve the bid. I wonder if you could put a little more color on that. Looking for more jobs, looking for quicker delivery. What specifics? How can they improve their bids?
I'm not in a position to give you the specifics. I'm not one of the individuals that's administering that contract negotiation, but I think it speaks volumes to the strategic importance of having created that agency and having given a team the specific responsibility to negotiate the best deal possible for Canada going forward. And that's what we've done. We've professionalized that procurement system, which makes it quicker, more efficient, and we've gone back to both bidders saying, we want to ask more of you. We want more information. What exactly is being requested? I'm not in a position to address, but I suspect it'll deal with, of course, benefits here, industrial benefits in Canada, buy Canadian provisions, steel, aluminum, workers, unionized workers, mill rights, all kinds of different opportunities. So I think what we should do is stay tuned.
The Prime Minister's, sorry, just pick up on what my colleagues were asking. The Prime Minister talked about this response to this increasingly unstable world as, kind of provoking this response in this uptick in recruitment, but also in messaging, even just yesterday, he kind of laid the blame at our biggest security partner, the US, for kind of creating that level of disunity, that level of dysfunction in the global affairs. We spoke with the ambassador on Friday. He seems to continue to tout the importance of that Canada-US security relationship, but also noting that it's becoming difficult to foster those ties with Canada, considering the rhetoric coming from the Prime Minister's office. Do you agree with that assessment, that this comments, even like on Sunday, saying our ties with the U.S. are now a weakness? Do you think that undercuts our ability to do security work with the Americans?
I think what the I think what the Prime Minister was indicating in his remarks was that things have changed, that we have a really important relationship to manage, and we are managing it well. For my part, from the defense, security, and intelligence side, we continue to manage that relationship well and work hand in glove together. For example, under the rubric of NORAD, the only binational command in the world, I've managed to get to all 4 NORAD bases. We work very, very closely on that front. We're still negotiating our way forward on, for example, over-the-horizon radar systems and other systems that integrate our continental responsibilities. I've seen no changes on that front. Look, the Prime Minister has also indicated that sometimes when things happen, you have to move, and you have to move quickly. And that's exactly what he's done. What he's done is brought a plan to bear for the country's future, including in the defence space, which is why we've launched Canada's first defence industrial strategy, which is why we're giving rise to a more prominent defence sector, which is why we've been making investments in these sectors for the past several months. We'll be making more. And it's one of the reasons why we're moving to build our military, rebuild, rearm, reinvest, which is exactly what we're doing. And these numbers this morning, I think, reflect that. So I think what the Prime Minister was indicating to Canadians is that we have an opportunity in front of us. Let's grab the opportunity. We have a very important relationship to manage. We are dialoguing constantly with the United States on the security, intelligence, and defence front. I see no difference on that front. Of course, there are economic issues that have to be resolved. I'll leave that to the Prime Minister.
How long is it taking from the time that someone puts an application in to the time they receive an offer? And what are the attrition numbers like? Because as you know, there's been problems in the past where people are leaving out of frustration because they couldn't be trained in the trade they wanted quickly enough.
That's a very good question. The timelines, I think, would depend on where you're applying from. That's a question you can put to our technical experts shortly. But I can tell you the attrition levels are about 8 to 9% per year. That is very much in line with our Five Eyes partners, except the U.S. They count a little differently. It's also very much in line with other industrial sectors. So we're seeing about 8 to 9%. We've seen the same thing this year. We've also seen a movement, and interestingly enough, we've seen another positive movement, which is about 500-600 individuals have left the reserve units and have crossed over full-time into the regular force. That's also a very good sign. It means that people are seeing the Canadian Armed Forces as a career of choice, a wonderful alternative, lots of interesting mobility inside the forces, lots of training. So all in all, today is a very positive day. As I say, highest recruitment in 30 years, 62% increase in verified applications, 70 of 97 critical occupations that are filled. Last year, 18. In the last 2 years, 5,000 people have joined the Canadian Armed Forces. That's a very, very high number. Now, there's more to do. We're working hard to surpass those targets annually, and we're also working hard to make sure that gap, as you indicate, between the time you are actually recruited, do your 9 weeks of basic training, and then begin your formal trade training, that gap is when we're working to shorten as quickly as we can.
Minister, on F-35s, your government continues to say that the delay is because you want to make sure that it's executed right. What does it say about your government that you can't execute this right? And are you delaying it because you're worried about Donald Trump's reaction?
No, what it says, I hope, for Canadians is that we're being very responsible. This is one of the largest acquisitions in Canadian history, as is the submarine acquisition, which is why we're taking the time we need to take to get it right. Obviously, the question of the F-35 remains under review. The Prime Minister is engaged. I am very engaged in this issue. My colleagues in our emerging DIA are engaged. So it's a question now of examining all of this, industrial benefits, as you know. Minister Joly has spoken about this. There are new provisions under Buy Canadian, et cetera, et cetera. So we're looking at all of this to make sure we get this right.
The last Minister of Defense had characterized the personnel crisis as a death spiral for the forces. Are we out of the death spiral, and how would you characterize how things are?
I wouldn't characterize today as anything but very positive news. Very positive news for the Canadian Armed Forces and for Canadians who want to see the respect accorded to the Canadian Armed Forces that they deserve, the members deserve, They want to see morale enhanced, which we're seeing is taking place. They want to see the investments being made on 33 bases, their kit, their uniforms, ammunition supplies. They want to see our industrial defense base expanded and built on. That's exactly what's happening as we make these strategic investments, and the Prime Minister spoke to that in his remarks, which were released yesterday as well. So I think this is a very good news story for Canada. It shows that we are making progress. There's more work to be done, and there's more work to be done, and my colleagues and I are going to continue to do that work. They have been integral and instrumental, each and every one of them, working with their local bases, meeting with their commanders, meeting with members of the Canadian Armed Forces, learning about the process, learning about their quality of life. High quality of life means basically higher performing members of the CAF. That's why we're spending so much time on investing in the things that matter: housing, childcare, healthcare, infrastructure, water and wastewater, kit, kitchen facilities, barracks, travel systems. All of this is now on the table and being improved. It's a big job, but we have incredible people in the Canadian Armed Forces and the department, and we're making progress. Thank you very much. Thank you.